Hello, everybody, and welcome to Plugin School Characters. My name is Christina Lofay. I'm your host. My wonderful co-host is Tomas. He's here with me every week. Um, if the link isn't handy in chat, because I'm not looking at chat right now, you can find recordings of my past Plugin School sessions on my YouTube channel. My username is just Christina Lofay, so you can always find me by searching it too. If your screen doesn't look like mine, that's because I chose the dark theme. And as I stated a little bit earlier before the recording started, this class is only about the Story Bible 2 changes to characters in relation to plugins, not Story Bible 2 in general, just plugins. So I'm going to ask that you save your questions until the end, because we have a lot to cover. And if you would like to sign up for the classes that Nicole will be teaching about Story Bible 2, Nicole and Tabby, you can sign up for them on Luma. It's lu.ma/Sudowrite. I'm signed up for all of them, so hopefully I'll see you there too. So, Story Bible 2, character updates. Um, I typed this as a script in here, so well, this is awkward. Story Bible 2 was supposed to be released today, and it still might be by the end of the day, but for now, I'm teaching from the beta server. That's why up here in my address bar, you'll see some weird stuff instead of sudowrite.com. Um, but hopefully, either tonight or tomorrow, you'll be able to access all the new character features um, right in your regular Sudowrite editor without having to worry about this beta address or anything. So we have three new plugin variables. We're going to focus on the first one, although if we have time, we can try to talk a little bit about the world building variables. But the one we're going to focus on today is characters_raw. We also have world building and world building_raw. Those are three new variables you can use when writing new plugins. Before I did have the screen open so I could show you. If you look here, characters is what we've always been using when writing plugins and looking for it to make a call to the characters box of your story Bible. It uses information that was optimized by the saliency engine, which I'll talk about in a moment. We now have the character's raw variable, which is basically all of your character information, raw and unoptimized, fed right to the whatever LLM you choose, or another plugin author chooses to use with their new plugins. We also have world building and world building raw, which work the same basic way as the characters variables do. So the raw part of the variable is what makes the big difference in how plugins work. Before Story Bible 2, the characters variable was passed through Sudowrite's saliency engine, which means that your character descriptions were always passed through an AI to summarize the most salient details. The saliency engine isn't only at work with plugins, but it also works within native Sudowrite features, but we only care about the plugins part for this class right now. So using characters raw in plugins. When you use the new variable, there's no longer an invisible AI step that summarizes your character descriptions. That's what the saliency engine did. It stepped in, and no matter how many characters you had, it would have a nice, tidy summary of your character information, but you have no control over which details the LLM found important and which ones it didn't. So you weren't getting everything that you put in your character boxes um, before now. You're just getting whatever the LLM thought was most important. So when you're using this variable, you need to know that it's going to use more credits because it's not summarizing anymore. All of your character information is getting read by whatever model the plugin uses. If you have 50 characters and you have custom fields and like a paragraph in each one, it's great to have unlimited space in your character boxes, but now all of that information, if you use the character's raw variable, that's all getting read by the plugin model, which means all of that, all of those words, all of those tokens are input being read by the model, and that cost credits. Um, but it also, because all of that needs to be read, you need to choose an LLM that has a large enough context window. Some of them only had like 600 words in and out or something like that, and you can't use those with the character's raw variable because they don't read enough, and they'd also have no way to write from it either. So you need to choose something with a larger context window, like the Claude 3 models, any of the Mistral models, GPT-4 Turbo, anything listed with like 12K or 24K, although 12K might be on the low end um, if you have large amounts of character information. Gemini is also a good one. You just need to make sure that whatever model you choose for the plugins where you use this variable is going to be able to handle this much information. Um, but on the plus side, you can now fine tune your character plugins to include whatever specific character details you want them to focus on. You don't have to worry about whether or not the saliency engine thinks something is unimportant. I know I have a character consistency plugin that was not always working very well. Um, and now I have a new version of it using the characters raw, and it works a lot better. Um, to help with the transition, because we're not sure if we're going to have import export available um, when we get started here. Um, when we come out of beta and the model is released. Eric Bateman was nice enough to report characters raw. We got a nice little lobster, rooster, and duck emoji to help find it in your plugin list. Actually, I'm gonna refresh that so that I can make sure all my plugins will show up. Um, Now, this is a moderate credit usage. It dumps out all of the character's raw data as much as it can handle. For anybody who's been using the beta, that means all of the information you have in all of your different character boxes, um, you can get it dumped out into a text document so you can export the information to another place. Um, how it works is that you can run it with no names, and it will start at the top of your character list and go as far as it can, giving you a good idea of how many characters you can do at once. And to continue, you can type in the name of the characters you want to report on and then highlight the names. For example, it lists Lisa Conrad, Alexander Hunter, and Dusty Lamond. It uses haiku, and you can clone this because he provided the instructions for everybody. You can use another model, but it will give shortened versions of each field because of how the different models work. So we're just going to give this a try. I forgot to pull up a document where I could do that. We'll use this story. Oh, I actually tried this in its limited form. But I can show you a second time how this works. So we're going to go to plugins and I'm going to scroll down looking for the emojis that indicate I found the right one. And we got a bunch of animals in it. It's probably at the end of my list. Here it is. Report characters raw. And it said you can do it without putting anything as highlighted text. So we're just gonna run it right here. Okay. I'm just gonna import it or insert it into the document so that we can show the output of the plugin. Now, here's what my character boxes look like. We have the name of the character. The main character here is Carrie Swift. Her pronouns are she, her. Groups, she belongs to the Swift family. We have her personality, background, physical description, and dialogue style. I have not added any custom fields in this project because it's a very short story. I have the other the other main character in here is Gabriela Gabby Rodriguez. And then I have people who don't appear on screen just so that we have the information about them. Marcus and Eleanor Swift, and two minor characters that appear on screen, Douglas Jameson and Lisa, I think it's Wen or Nguyen. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce that. My apologies. I've heard it differently for different people. But when you see what this plugin did, it dumped out all of the information from our new character boxes into a format where I can take them and easily put them in a document on Scrivener, or if I'm building a wiki, I can copy and paste the stuff into the wiki. It's just pretty helpful if if you fill out all of your character information and you have a long character list, it's nice to have a way to just dump out all that information so you don't have to copy and paste from each individual box to use it elsewhere. Because right now, that's pretty much what you'd have to do. I'd have to, come here and highlight this box and copy it and then paste it into another document and then come back and get the background. And nobody wants to do that. That's going to waste hours and hours of your time. So, um, let me just grab, this is the link to the plugin that's not with the beta link for this plugin with the characters raw. If you don't currently have Story Bible 2 because you're not in the beta, it doesn't make any sense to use this because you just have one big characters box that you can copy and paste from. But if you have a big list of characters, yeah, you're going to want to take all of the stuff from all these different boxes and dump it into a single document for so you can do anything else you need to do with it. This is a current workaround for something several of us have asked for to have official functionality for exporting character data, but for now, this is better than nothing. Um, okay. I have this plugin, Consistent Characters Story Bible 2 feedback. And I also have, let's go back here and we'll find my original one. Consistent Characters feedback. I have unlisted this one, the original one, and referred to it as deprecated because it doesn't work as nicely or as well if you have Story Bible 2 active as the new version does. I will see. I do have this here. Okay. All right, let's run my original characters plugin here. And then I'm going to show you what the latest version of the new plugin does in comparison. And I powered this one with Gemini Pro because it works more intelligently than the previous model the original one was using. So now I have both of them set to Gemini, where this original used to be GPT 3.5. So character inconsistencies. You have the name of the character, her age. It says in the character description, Carrie's described as an 11-year-old girl. However, in the highlighted text, she mentions being old enough to take her own bath and wash her face. This implies that she might be older than 11, as most children learn to do these things independently around the ages of 7 or 8. See, that doesn't even make sense within its own explanation, because if she can do those things, she can be 11 years old, not older than that. Her imagination, emotional maturity. We have the character of Gabby as the nanny. She's described as a nurturing and patient caregiver with a calm, emotionally intelligent demeanor. However, in the text, she appears more stressed and emotional, especially after learning about an accident. There's a car accident. It's very stressful. I don't care how calm and nurturing and patient you are, you're going to be a wreck. So this isn't giving us the best feedback um, as it could give us. Also, these characters do not appear in the text, so it doesn't make much sense. But when I ran it with the new version of the plugin that uses characters raw, I didn't really have any consistency issues. Instead, it went through and confirmed that these details are in fact consistent um, with the information in my story Bible. Um, it's like, yeah, this confirms that Carrie's 11 years old. Actually, my character description in the character box is wrong because she's a character from another story. I don't know where dark hair and brown eyes came from. But they're not in the text, so it's not a big deal. Um, it takes different statements from her character description and specifically indicates where they're demonstrated in the text. So while I wrote the plugin to show me where characters were acting inconsistently, this didn't find any, and it gave me a report of how consistent my characters are with the information provided in the character descriptions. And that's a big deal. Um, got much better quality output, and I can show you how much. Okay, so running the original version of the plugin cost 1,700 credits, and running the Story Bible 2 version of the plugin cost me 2,200 credits, which really a difference of 500 credits isn't a lot. They both use the same model, just one uses a summary of the character data and the other uses all of the character data. And the results were pretty stark with the differences. Okay, that that is what I had planned for class today. Um, does anybody else in the audience have any plugins that I could use to demonstrate differences between Story Bible, the original, and Story Bible 2?
David, I ordered the.
Please mute your mic if you're not asking a question.
What?
Let's see here. Let me take a look at the chat. Michael's been answering some questions here. So, plugin authors, just for this brief period where we're still in beta, but not yet having Story Bible 2 live, you cannot currently edit old plugins to use the new characters variable. You can only create new plugins that use the variable. But you will be able to, correct me if I'm wrong, we will be able to edit old plugins to use the new variables once Story Bible 2 is officially released, to the best of my understanding.
Not sure there's anyone here to correct you. He had to step out for a meeting. Do you want me to get him?
No, you don't have to get them. We'll just say this kind of like, take with a grain of salt. This is my understanding, is that we currently cannot use the character's raw variable in old plugins, but once it's released, we will be able to edit old plugins to use the new variable. However, if you are going to do this, it might be best just to create a new version of your old plugin like I did, because you could hit your plugin users with a little bit of sticker shock if they're using the new characters boxes with the unlimited amount of words in them. And they didn't know that anything changed by using raw character data versus the summary character data. And suddenly it costs 5 times as much to run the old plugin as it does to run the new one. Not as huge of a deal if you're using the inexpensive models. But it would be a huge deal if you were, say, using Claude Opus. If you're using Opus and suddenly you're allowing it to dump in all of this additional information in a plugin that people previously had a good idea of how many credits it took to run, you're going to have problems because they're going to be very unhappy. And as Tomas said in chat, we should talk about sticker shock. credits in Sudowrite are kind of this nebulous thing, right? A lot of people, well, even those of us who use different models and understand how the relative credit costs work and stuff, we can still be kind of shocked by how many credits any given activity, whether it's a plugin or a native feature of Sudowrite, takes depending on the model you use. A good thing to remember is that you're charged credits for every bit of information, not just that not just that it writes, but everything it reads. So yeah, rejections can cost you 30,000 credits if you have it using like a lot of information from your story Bible. And if the plugin fails because Claude's being a prude and it doesn't like your violence, or it thinks that your romance got a little too intense for it, which doesn't even have to include sex scenes, it can get squicky even with much tamer stuff. Um, you're charged credits for everything that the models read, not just write. So all of this stuff, if you're including the character's raw variable, every time that plugin is run, it's going to cost credits to read all of the character boxes. So make sure to warn users in your plugin descriptions about this, because it could be pretty expensive. I added this paragraph in here to the new version of my consistent characters plugin to specify that it's going to read all character descriptions without summarizing anything. And if you have a big character list, it's going to cost a lot more credits to run than the earlier version of the plugin. So I did provide the link to the old version of the plugin. And if you want, links don't work in plugin descriptions, but you can just copy this and paste it into your browser's address bar, and you can get to whatever link is in a plugin description. Good general advice. We will not be forced to use the new character boxes immediately upon launch. That is something that the ambassadors talked to the staff about, and they've made it so that you'll have about 30 days to opt in to Story Bible 2 on a project by project basis, meaning that if you want to get a feel for it with a project you don't really care so much about, so that the learning curve isn't going to kill you, you can, yes, new projects will have the new boxes, and there's no change for that. Yeah, Tomas, do you think you could do you don't have co-host, do you?
Yes.
You have 30 days after release for adoption of the Story Bible 2 updates. But you do have that little grace period so that you can get a feel for it with small project or a new project before you try converting your your main project with its extensive character list and everything into the new system. They just wanted to give people a little more control because we had some concerns that maybe people weren't going to be quite ready for this new robust system, and give people a little more time to test it out before it's the standard, just how it works. As far as
we did a lot
how
more
many,
work.
let me, can you say that again? Because I think I might have been talking over you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I suggest that it doesn't use more credits unless you are feeding it more words than you normally did in the old characters box. If you stay
Yes.
under 700, it should be about the same.
Yep. But also on that point, I also want to say that using more credits isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you get better results, that's not a bad thing because you're not wasting credits doing something that doesn't do what you want it to do. You do not have to use the characters box. I mean, every part of Story Bible is completely optional. You can turn Story Bible off if you want to. But a lot of people, a lot of plugins utilize Story Bible. It's kind of hard to find plugins that don't utilize Story Bible. I have some that only look at highlighted text or preceding text, both. But a lot of the things that do a lot of heavy lifting use Story Bible elements, and that's why we have the variables here for the different Story Bible boxes. And yes, it will cost more credits when using plugins with certain LLMs, reading all of the character boxes, as long as you have more information in those character boxes than you did previously with one big text box for your characters. Unfortunately, right now, we do not have any variables to tell the plugins to only read certain parts of the character boxes. I know a couple of us brought up that we would like to be able to do that. This is going to be kind of a stretch goal. You can, oh, I wish I made a note of which plugin it was that I saw did this. There is a Story Bible 2 plugin somebody else wrote that specifically tells the plugin to look at, I think it's dialogue style. So dialogue style is something, it's one of the standard boxes in Story Bible 2's character boxes. And while the plugin will read all of the character information by giving it proper instructions to focus on the information contained within dialogue style, you can get the plugin to focus on dialogue style. If we can get variables that will allow us to just pick like the dialogue style box, it would work mostly the same, but cost a lot less if it only had to read one box in each of the characters. And yes, as John's saying in chat, we've talked about creating a two-stager that uses haiku to read all the characters and focus them down to the chapter you're working on before passing that to a more expensive LLM like Opus to do the rest. So that is something that you can do when writing plugins as a workaround for how much it's going to cost with all of this character information. Haiku is pretty inexpensive to run. So if you use that as your own personalized saliency engine instead of the black box that is the Sudowrite saliency engine, you can use Haiku to do that and then pass the results along to something like Opus or GPT-4 or something for better results. Does anybody else have any more questions about plugins and characters in Story Bible 2? Saliency engine could also be called the showrunner. Yes. That's one of the reasons I'm very happy we got the new characters raw variable, because we have this saliency engine running the show, but we don't know how it makes its decisions. And now with characters raw, we can tell it how to make the decisions. So that is a huge step in functionality for plugin authors and plugin users within Story Bible 2. We'll be able to do a lot more powerful stuff. A little off the subject, it would be great if plugin descriptions told how many words they wrote. Yes. I do not control how Sudowrite displays. We cannot control how Sudowrite displays plugin information. It is currently up to each individual plugin author to write a good description. Yeah, John, work on that. Why don't you? In my plugins, I have a format I like to use, where I describe first what the plugin is supposed to do. I give any warnings with these exclamation points to make sure you read that information before using any of the plugins. I tell you what model it uses. I tell you what variables the plugin looks at. And I tell you the maximum length of like highlighted text or whatever else. I'm going to have to start adding in extra information about maximum length of total input, now that we're going to have these unlimited character boxes and stuff too. So like it's all up to the plugin authors. So unfortunately it's a bit frustrating because there's no way to automatically show you these variables either. Like I can edit this, and if it was possible, it would be nice if I could just say, um, you know, show this in, if there was a little radio button or checkbox that I could click and say, show which engine, show maximum output, show maximum words for highlighted text and preceding text and all that. But we don't currently have that functionality, unfortunately. Any other, but I can talk quickly about world building if nobody has any other questions about characters and plugins. I unfortunately haven't used world building fields very much, but we do have world building options in Story Bible 2 where you can, nope, let's generate, I can always delete this later. Let's generate setting, and we'll say Swift home, because that is the setting of
Would you mind show your screen?
You can't see the screen?
Put it in the corner, very small.
Click on the little corner yourself and it should bring it big.
It might be one of your Zoom settings. Can other people see my whole screen?
Yes,
Yes.
it's fine on this side. I think they just need to either pin it by clicking on it, or there's like a little expand arrow, like the whole thing has been turned into a little box, and there's like a box with an arrow at the bottom right of that little thing that would expand.
Right. Sorry that Zoom is being annoying for you. But
I've got,
it's
I've got it now. Thank you so much.
awesome. Great. So I generated this world building item for the Swift home. Also known, it got pretentious and decided that it could also be called the Ravenwood, should be Ravenswood residence or the Swift mansion. A grandiose structure of modern architecture, the Swift home is a symphony of opulent design and comforting luxury, blah, 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 blah. Nestled within the affluent enclave of Ravenswood, the Swift home stands as a testament to refined. I would very much want to adjust this and edit it to be accurate within the confines of my story. But as soon as I have any world building items like setting or organization or key events, clues, magic systems, items, technology, government, economy, culture, religion, or a custom world building field, we can now look at those in plugins, because we can have it look at all of your world building information. You can have it look at the the saliency engine version, which is a summary of your world building, or the raw information using the world building raw variable. Well, world building, read anything you already have. So say take ideas I have in my story and just expand that. Right now there's no way, as far as I know, to import existing information into boxes. I know that some of us are working on ways to try to do that with plugins, at least extract the salient details that you'd want to copy and paste into the boxes in your story Bible. However, there's no way to just run a plugin and say, scoop up all of this world building information from this chapter and put it into and put it into the world building section of my story Bible. That is not something that currently exists. So
If you get if you get a description of the world building information extracted from the prose, could you then use that as a prompt to generate a box in world building?
probably. I did not write any world building plugins because I didn't think we'd have time today, but apparently it didn't take me as long as I thought it would to teach today's class, because it's not live, so I couldn't have everybody looking at the boxes with me, which was the original goal of this class, was to be like, okay, now go take a look at your story Bible. But yeah, I have a feeling that in the coming days, we're going to have some new world building plugins that will extract information from your existing prose and put it into a format that you can then copy and paste into world building boxes. There is, oh yes, the pull characters from prose. Is that actually what it's called? Or
Yeah, pull characters from prose. It has like a guy swimming in the ocean. And
Full
Manon has a,
character.
a really good plugin. Manon, are you here? Manon's plugin is Reverse Story Bible or something like that, which takes your extant
Oh,
text and
yeah, I have that one installed actually. Or no, I removed it for this class because I was trying to remove all of the non-characters ones, but yes.
this one
Full
was really good
characters
because
from
it gives voice.
mm,
It gives some of that voice description, and just having that voice description, even in the regular characters box, really affects the prose generation for those characters dialogue.
oh, absolutely. Um, I'm just going to give everybody the link here to pull characters from prose, which is something that you can use to help instead of um there is a I can remember which window I'm in. Oh, let's do this and scroll down. Okay, since I already have characters in here, it does not have generate cast, but there is there is a generate cast button you can use. There used to be a what
Yes,
is the
there is.
deal here? Oh
It's
well.
not on.
Um anyhow, that's neither here nor there. You instead of clicking on generate character, if you already have the information in your prose, you can use John's plugin to pull characters from prose, which let me see if I can do that with a different story that I haven't done that with before. I don't think I generated characters here. Yeah, I have not. Oh, I did. All right, never mind. That one won't work. But you can, is it? All right, let me just check Discord real quick. Okay, no announcements.
Yeah, we're wondering if it upgraded by because Tomas was having problems getting into.
Um, you know what? We'll use my actual novel. Um, we'll use one chapter instead of 100,000 words. And
I think you have to
so
select.
preceding text, highlighted text. So I'm just going to highlight. I like to always just double check the instructions for every plugin. And make sure I do that on camera so everybody knows that I
That
I
is
check the
really good advice.
instructions. Um, I like to have a tab open to the plugins directory so I can look up any plugin that I have installed before I use it. So, all right, we have that highlighted. Now let's find little swimming guy to pull characters from prose. Some of these emojis look different on in Windows 11 than they did on my old Windows 10 system. Here we go. Got about 5 minutes left until the end of class, so I think we're doing pretty well. All right, so pull characters from prose gave me this. We've got Carrie, the narrator, visual description, nothing provided in the first chapter here. Manner of speaking, worldview, character archetype. These are all things that I could put into um I actually I'm not going to play with this right now on this because I do care more about this and I've been waiting to generate my character list here until we've got more features like being able to import character descriptions. But I could put the visual description into this is not what okay, I have windows open to things and I just want to be able to refer to, okay, so comparing the two, I could take visual description and put it into the physical description box here. I could take manner of speaking and put it into a dialogue style box. I could take worldview and put that into the personality or background box, whichever seems most appropriate. And character archetype would go into probably personality. And we also have it for the character of Janice and Jeffrey. And then we have some minor characters it pulled out for me that I forgot were in this chapter. Adam Astor. The woman with the spilled beer is actually Janice before Janice got a name, was named in the chapter. Jablonski is one of the fighters. Miller is one of the fighters. But it pulled out all of the characters in this chapter so that I could put their information into my story Bible, which is pretty helpful. I might write my own similar plugin that specifically uses the format of the character boxes with pronouns, groups, other names, personality, background, physical description, dialogue style, and then any other traits I want to add for my individual projects. But that's one way you can use an existing plugin to help you import. Actually, we're going to put this in my class document as something that can help you with the transition to the Story Bible 2. So I don't forget it. And I think that's where we're going to wrap up class right on time. We will be able to continue the discussion and ask more questions after I finish the recording. But for right now, thank you for coming. I'm sorry we didn't have, I'm sorry this wasn't all live like we intended for it to be. Because it was supposed to be release day, but so much for that, right? Best laid plans. The recording of this will be up so that you can watch it again when you are able to opt into the Story Bible 2 once it's released, because you'll probably want some reminders once you're actually able to look at it yourself. Thank you for coming. There's another class next week. I do not remember the topic, but it is available on Luma if you'd like to look that up at lu.ma/Sudowrite to see all the plugin school class names for the next several weeks. And I hope you all have a great day.